All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new year of technology and cybersecurity. Thank you for joining this first episode of Campfire. I'm really pleased to have Matthew James with me today. Hello, Matthew. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being our first guest of 2025. So
Glad to be here.
if you're listening to us, you're probably listening live right now. You should know that we are welcoming your questions either on Facebook, on YouTube, or on LinkedIn, wherever you're listening to us right now. We're going to see your chat right here on the side of the screen, and Matthew or I will answer that. Ask any question about NewCamp, about cybersecurity, about our cybersecurity bootcamp, and we'll be very happy to answer that. All right, so Matthew, thank you again for being here. You are an instructor at NewCamp, but more importantly, you are also a cybersecurity expert. Could you introduce yourself briefly, where you live, what you do right now,
Yeah,
what's your day job, etc.?
yeah. My name's Matthew James. I currently live in Stanford, Kentucky, which is about an hour short of Lexington, south of Lexington. I've been working in cybersecurity for a number of years now. I do have my master's in cybersecurity with a focus on IT management. Before that, I've got my bachelor's in IT with a focus on cybersecurity. Kind of flip-flopped there. But I've been through IT and cybersecurity and back and forth for quite a while. They go close hand in hand. So
Yeah, definitely. And can you say where you're working at right now? The name
yes,
of
I
the
currently work for Lockheed Martin.
It's pretty exciting. I'll
Yes.
have a few questions on that front. So you've been with NewCamp ever since I think we started the new cybersecurity curriculum, and this is something that I love to do. I love to talk about you as an instructor. You have been teaching, I think, 7 classes with us since June of last year, and you have a 4.82 average rating out of 5, which is pretty insane, considering that we ask all your students every week for their feedback. You're scoring 4.82 out of 5, and that's over 168 student feedback. So, really impressive. Thank you very much on behalf of NewCamp and your students for everything that you do with us. Let me ask you this: Why did you do that? Why did you join? You already had, a really interesting career at Lockheed. What made you decide to do something else on the side and teach?
Well, it's a pretty good question. Honestly, I just feel like if you're not moving forward, even doing something new or something more exciting, or trying to improve yourself, you're really not trying. So NewCamp to me was a way to improve myself. I love teaching. I love instructing. This seemed like a natural step for me to be able to help more people, to be able to reach more people, and just I'm not sure what else there was, but just to help people with cybersecurity. So
That's good. And so, can you tell us a little bit of what you're teaching right now? Which I mean, you've taught 2 classes. What do they cover right now?
yeah, so I've taught the Cybersecurity Foundations class, which is a really good class. It's based on the the CompTIA Security Plus exam. right? Which is really awesome. And I really do love the curriculum. We go through a lot of topics and we do it very quickly, but we do it efficiently, which is
Yeah.
great. Then after that, I teach the network security course, which is designed after the GIAC course, the GSEC certification. So this dives more deeply. We're talking about the same topics, but we're diving more deeply into them. We're getting into more details, making our knowledge more robust, being able to put concepts together easier, and really being able to talk about this more, which to me is a big thing. Like one of the things that we try to do in our boot camps is to talk. I want to be able to engage with you. I want to be able to make sure that you're understanding what I'm talking about, that we're speaking the same language of cybersecurity or IT, because really it kind of has its own nuances. It has its own things that you can talk about or way that you can refer to things. So I'm an instructor, but everyone in the class in a way is a teacher.
Interesting. And your students have an opportunity to talk to you during the workshop, right? Over the weekend.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting, I think, about the second class, the defense, network and security, is that's where students are asked to install a virtual machine manager, Linux, Kali Linux.
Yep.
It's getting very much deep, hands-on, deep technical. How do you see them faring at that moment when they are all of a sudden they have to run Linux on their own machine?
That can be a point, of a make or break point, honestly. It can be tough. And fortunately, I'm a Linux guy. I love running Linux. I do that as my daily driver. So I'm there to tell them, what they can do to make things work. Right. I've had to reassure students before that, I'm going to be your technical support for getting this stuff to work. And I'm glad to do it. So, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That network defense course is a big step up for the technical skills, and it's preparing as well to go to the next step after that.
That's right.
The hacking course, which is even more technical. Yeah,
That's right. That's right. Nice progression there. So let's talk about your progression. I want to give the audience a chance to understand how you got to cybersecurity, because it wasn't. I mean, I'm looking at your LinkedIn and it didn't feel like a straight line, right? It felt
no,
like.
no, not really. No.
So let me look at your LinkedIn profile, and as I do that, by the way, everyone listening right now, uh, if you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, don't hesitate to ask your question in the chat. We're going to look at the chat, Matthew and I. We have the chat right here. And we'll be able to, right now, no comments are here, but when you ask your question, we'll be able to see it and we'll do our best to answer it. So I'm looking at your profile, and um, it seems that so you started in IT and then you moved into cybersecurity.
Yep.
Can you tell us about your first job in IT? How did you get it? What was your credential at that moment in time? What kind of degree did you have, or did you do a coding bootcamp as well? But tell us about that first job, and then we'll talk about how you got from that IT position to a cybersecurity position.
Okay, it's gonna be a longer story then if we're gonna go back to when I started. Sure.
Oh yeah.
So my very first job in IT was I was doing technical support for a cable company. Right.
Yep.
I'm answering the phone. Why is my internet not working? And I did that for a number of years. I had no credentials, no degree. I had nothing. And it was one of my least favorite jobs I've had was at that point. Right. But then as I was doing this, I always in the back of my mind was planning on doing more. Right. There was more in my mind that I could do. So, and I knew that computers were my thing. I love computers. I love programming. There's got to be a way for me to make the leap into a real career at this, not just a help desk job, right? So I started teaching myself. I was teaching myself HTML and CSS, and I just happened to have some friends that I went to church with. That one of them had his own company. He was a developer, so he worked with me to teach me a little bit of HTML. And another one of my friends that was friends with him ended up needing a IT professional, and he gave me an opportunity to interview for the job. And I guess I did well because they hired me, not having any experience being at the time was sort of be a Unix administrator. I didn't know what Unix was at the time.
Oh, didn't you really? Oh, wow.
And I became a very good Unix administrator in a very short amount of time, just because he knew I had the love of learning and the
Yeah.
love of doing new things, that it was really going to catch my interest and take off. And it did. I went from that job at a financial institution to another job that was similar, but with more responsibilities at another financial institution. And then I was advanced there to an IT management position. And at the same time, all I'm doing this, I'm learning more, I'm developing skills. And I know in the back of my mind too, like this isn't the end for me either. I've got to go and do even more exciting things. So, and along those lines, I'm thinking I got to future proof my career, right? What is going to be continuing that is new and cutting edge, and it's going to be something that I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's when I came with cybersecurity, right? It
So
was
let's pause here because I want to go back to what
yeah,
you just said. There's a few
okay,
nuggets here that I want to crunch. Um,
sure,
so y- the way you got your first position in IT without having credentials was very much through networking, right? And
yes, sir.
connections, social interactions. And I think what you did then is very much what people need to do now. There has
Cool.
been, that big 20, I would say between 2020 and 2022 cycle of, take jobs available for pretty much anyone, and you could just apply on LinkedIn. But what you did at that time, and that was, I hope you don't mind me saying that was a few years ago, I'll say, um,
Yes.
but really, no, presentable credentials, no diploma or degree in the field, but showing, yourself, your perseverance, your love of learning HTML, CSS, and I'm sure didn't help much for the first IT position or even the second. um,
No,
but you were able to really get that job, and so that's very much the learning I want to convey to the audience is it's so much applies right now as well, right? Networking. You're not going to get your first job just by applying on LinkedIn or Indeed. You want to meet with folks, and you want to expose yourself and what you're capable of to your network. So we have our first question from AOR here, which I think is more. It's Aline. I think I remember you, Aline. I don't know how and why. Maybe you were on the graduation, but your name rings a bell for some reason. Former student here from back end course. So thankful for NewCamp for the support during such a challenging time as I was taking the course. Well, thank you so much, Aline. Tell me why. I think anyway. Your name seems. Didn't we send something to you? Okay, I maybe the staff is online and is going to help me figure that out. But yeah, your name rings a bell. Well, and very much happy for you as well, Aline. Tell us more about what you're doing right now. Okay, so you had that first job in IT, and then you want to get to the next phase,
mhm.
and that next phase is Unix, it's administration, but that's not the end of it. How do you start to think about cybersecurity? What leads you to cybersecurity exactly? Yes. Okay. Okay. I knew it. Okay.
Um, well,
I don't recall all the
honestly,
details, Aline, but I remember. Yeah, I think something to do with your dad. I think no. Anyway.
so at that point, yeah, to cybersecurity, it's just something you kept seeing in the news, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't going away, right? So it was starting to just become everywhere, right? And it was, and after doing a little bit of research, I thought there was some money to be made there as well. So,
Yeah.
um,
What year was that when you were looking into switching?
let me think here. I was
Gosh.
probably, that must have been probably 7, 8 years ago. I mean, I
Okay.
was still doing part of
Yeah.
the thing I was doing, like I was noticing too a trend in as I'm being an IT professional and an IT manager, I'm doing more and more cybersecurity things anyway, right?
Mhm.
We always are talking about hardening systems. We're talking about closing vulnerabilities. Like it is just something that's kind of integrated itself into my life anyway. So I thought, let's do this even better than anyone else here. Let's go ahead and move forward and just really go all in with this thing that is emerging and is just
Yeah.
going to be stronger and stronger.
And you were already familiar with Unix, you said, right? So you were actually getting familiar with Unix, which was kind of the de facto, baseline, I would say, to get
Yep.
into cybersecurity. And yeah, so Aline, very, very pleased to read from you. Thanks for chiming in. But yeah, that's what I think I remembered as well. Um, so, and how did you prepare for that? I'm looking at your LinkedIn again, and I'm seeing a number of things with Thousand New Hampshire University. I'm seeing certifications. Did you do that before getting into cybersecurity, or did you do that right after getting into cybersecurity? And how did that connect back and forth? Like, did one help you get the other?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So actually, my very first degree I got was my associate's degree in computer security and forensics at a local community college. It was across the street from the financial institution I was working at as a
Oh,
Unix administrator.
yeah.
So when I had to take my math class, I would have to walk across the street after work to go to math, right? But then everything else was online. And then that was like a really the swimming pool wasn't that deep for the associate's degree, right? But it was triggering me to learn about topics. This stuff is really interesting. This looks really important. This is something I got to study up on more, right? And then after that, it was just kept progressing. Then I went to Southern New Hampshire University, where I got my bachelor's in IT, and then I got my master's there as well. In
And you did that part time, or did
no,
you?
no, no. I was working full time, and I went to school full time.
That's right. Well, that's I guess that's what I meant.
Yeah,
But yeah, you kept your job, and then you took those classes like nights and weekends.
correct. Well, no,
Wow.
I'm going to say too. I like to tell people I went on hard mode. I didn't do weekends. I did Monday through Friday, work and homework, and got everything done so I could have weekends with my family.
Oh wow, that was probably brutal. How many hours of sleep do you need?
What's that?
How many hours of sleep do you need?
Uh Man, I went to bed late. I got up early, so it was
Yeah,
not a lot of sleep. I was tired a lot, but it
yeah, I
was
can
worth it.
imagine. Wow. Well, congrats. That's huge. A- and so you said you got you did that. So in that process, when did you get your first cybersecurity position? After graduating from your
Uh,
degree or master, or before?
no, I would. It wasn't truly labeled as a cybersecurity position, but
I
really
see.
my IT management job was going to be really my doorway into doing
Mm.
cybersecurity work. I was working with
Oh, I
vulnerability
see.
management. I was working with risk. I was working with um, hardening. It was a number of different things that we were working with in this position.
Gotcha. And Jeremy says that, hey, you need at least 7 hours of sleep per night. Yeah, I agree. I agree. But nine, you feel dizzy and sleepy all day. That's like a right middle. So let me check. So, all right. So while you were in that financial institution, you were able to kind of bring in more cybersecurity topics and projects into your remit.
Mhm.
Uh, so tell us about how did you actually then join Lockheed Martin? Tell us how did you find it? Well, were you looking for the position, or did someone reach out to you? How
Good
did
question.
the right? How did the interview go? Tell us about all that.
Oh man. Okay. So I was living in upstate New York at the time, right? And my family was always planning to move to Kentucky. So I'm living in New York, working my IT management job. My family is in Kentucky, and I'm trying to find a job so that I can go down and live
Oh
with them.
wow, yeah.
So it was a pretty brutal situation. And then I was putting in applications, taking every interview I could get. I was really trying to get something that was really great. And then out of nowhere, Lockheed Martin showed up and did an interview with me, and it went really well. I actually went to the parking lot where I worked to take the phone call in my car, right? And at the end of the call, like I was just about to finish up last steps, my phone overheated and it cut us off.
Really?
Right? It was bad. I'm like, oh no, this is the worst thing that could happen. Right? So I ripped the case off. I had like it's COVID times too. So I had the
Yep.
rubbing alcohol for your hands. I'm like, I know this cools stuff off. I dumped that on the back of the phone, rubbed it in, and then it cooled it down enough where I could make another phone call. And I called her back and I was like,
That sounds like a Mr.
what?
Robot type of thing. It's
What's
like
that?
Mr. Robot type of hack. You know the
Yeah,
story?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I called her back and I was like, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to, make sure that I didn't miss anything. My phone cut off, and I really want to proceed with next steps. And I was very honest that's what happened. My phone overheated, and I just didn't get to finish it. I wasn't hanging up on you, and she enjoyed that part, the honesty and the making sure that everything was good. That as well as everything else, that put me over the top, where she ended up hiring me, pretty much right then. So
So you had one interview, or you had multiple interviews over there?
I had one. I had
Oh
one.
wow, that's lucky. There's a question before we continue on that conversation. And by the way, anyone listening, please ask your questions. If you're listening on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you should see the chat window. Ask your question, just like Jeremy and Aline is doing as well. Question for you, I think. How is the job market for people without experience, and in this field being the cybersecurity field?
Very good question. It is a growing job market, honestly. I tell my students that as they come into my course, we need you. We need you desperately to start taking these cybersecurity jobs. We have positions, we need people to fill it. So I understand that you don't have experience, but things like this boot camp, where you can get your certification, that goes a long way for me. If I'm looking to hire someone and they have technically no IT jobs, I mean, that's where I was, right? And so I look for someone that is trainable, right? Show the initiative that you're doing things that are improving yourself. You're going out there and learning about things. You know how things work. We can speak the same cybersecurity language. That's how you get your foot in the door, is being part of the community, even if you're not a part of the community. I know it sounds weird to say, and I'm hoping that makes sense and coming across okay, but it really is that's where you start, is talking to people about the same topics the same way. And if you know cybersecurity, it's going to go a lot smoother for you with these interviews, right?
And there's a lot of chatter online when people talk about cybersecurity saying you cannot get a junior cybersecurity role. People are saying that, or you cannot get a cybersecurity role if you're not already very familiar with IT. And pretty much discouraging, I feel, when the people say that. Um, Discouraging folks who are even trying to enter the industry, or this job market, because if they're beginners, they feel like, hey, there's no way in hell to get a position in cybersecurity. What do you tell to those folks that are kind of diminishing the opportunity for junior cybersecurity folks and beginners?
Yeah, I hate that people think that, honestly. To me, cybersecurity is a community. We all improved at the same time,
Mhm.
right? If you're coming to me with with a pool of knowledge, with a willingness to work, I'm going to give you a shot. Honestly, it is not something that should be um, shied away from. It is to even attempt to do it. There are positions out there. We need people. I really cannot be more honest, that we need people. And if someone is telling you that you shouldn't even be trying, I don't think you should listen to them at all.
Yeah. And is it helpful to discuss in that context the CompTIA Security Plus certification, which maps to our first course, and how it prepares folks for the cybersecurity analyst position? And I would say, in my mind, the whole bootcamp, right, all three courses, is meant to give you all the technical background and knowledge, but you're not going to be the cybersecurity Linux, penetration tester expert just yet. But you should be in a great position to talk about, hey, I can join your ranks as an analyst,
Yeah.
right? Can you talk
Mhm.
about a little bit what is a cybersecurity analyst position about? What does it do?
It's it can vary from organization to
Yeah.
organization. As a matter of fact, it can vary quite a bit from organization to organization. But ideally, in my mind, it is a position where when you put the analyst title on it, there you are researching. You're looking into things, right?
Yeah.
You might have a list of things to look into. Someone sent an email that there's a phishing. I got a phishing email. What is this about? Or there's suspicious network traffic, or something like that. Where does that come from? What can we do about it? That's the kind of things that I think about for a junior analyst position. And we're teaching that stuff. I mean, we're teaching phishing, right? What it looks like, what to look for, how to increase our security about that in an organization. We're not teaching like how to do it on a one-on-one basis. We're talking about here's how we do policies. There's what we do for procedures. Here's how we bolster the whole organization, right? We're really taking this to a big level.
It feels like a cybersecurity analyst position is the equivalent of a support engineer in an IT organization. It's a great entry level position where you're going to be fed, tasks, specific,
Mhm.
things to look for, to fix, or to
Yep.
reproduce, or to discover, and that's going to
Yep.
give you access to a wealth of knowledge of, how pretty much cybersecurity works in a company, so that you
Yeah.
can move up, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Ideally, it'd be something like a junior analyst position or just an analyst position, and that would be what it'd be. You would give certain tasks, right,
Yeah,
and then you would use that to improve on that on your skill set, and then ideally too, you'd be able to tap into a resource like a senior analyst, right, that there's
yeah.
doing more information. If it's something you can't handle, you should be able to escalate them and learn from them. I mean, that's truly how it should work.
There's two additional questions here. One from Anwar asking, "Tell us where to start." But then I'm going to complement it with this question: do you have to take a prerequisite class before the cybersecurity bootcamp? So I'm going to answer that question. There's no prerequisite class. What we ask you is you have to be familiar with computers. And you have to know your way around computers. You have to be computer literate, as we say. We're going to teach you Windows. We're going to teach you Linux. We're going to teach you virtual machines. Um, you have to be comfortable, installing programs and things like that. And it does help, obviously, if you have already an interest in IT. I would say, just like you, Matthew, if you've been in the IT space either as a hobby or as a job, that's helpful, but no specific prerequisite. Now, Anwar, now tell us where to start. So, where should someone start? I guess to validate that their interest, and where should they start once they know that they want to pursue? What would you, say that they should actually look into?
Well, there's a lot of different directions you can go, but forward is I know the optimal only way to go, right? And you mentioned something earlier about the CompTIA Security Plus exam,
Yeah,
right? And to me, that's a pretty much that's a significant certification, right? It is one of the first for CompTIA offers, right? But it is also someone also mentioned something about a government position as
yeah,
well.
German.
So your Security Plus exam is often the minimum required for a government cybersecurity position,
Yeah.
right? So it's a great place to start. They have a whole list of topics that they are looking for that um, to in order to pass the certification. And we're going through a lot of those topics in this boot
Yeah.
camp. A
The
lot.
first course maps actually to all those topics. That's pretty much the intent. Yeah.
Yep. Hmm.
Great. So
Yep.
yeah,
Well,
great way to start. And like, is there, in the coding world, when someone is asking where to start, my answer is always pick an online course, buy a $10 Udemy course, see if you like it. See if you enjoy coding, debugging, finding bugs and things like that. Is there an
yep.
alternate? Is there something similar in the cybersecurity world? Like, can you
Yeah.
just go online and look for something and see if you actually have an interest at least of it?
Oh yeah. No, I'm gonna use one of the resources that we use in our course in
Yeah.
our workshops is try hack me,
Yes,
right?
brilliant.
You can sign up for that platform for no money and you can try to learn. It's designed to teach. It's a teaching platform.
Yeah.
There is a premium level that gives you access to more content, but uh, in itself, that's a great place to start. It's I still learn stuff from there. Honestly, it's a
Exactly.
real
Try hack me.
website.
Let me bring it. Screen share. Let me see if I can bring try hack me here. Hold on a sec. Because we do leverage that resource in our uh, bootcamp as well. Try hack me. There we go. Let me see if you guys can see it. That will be this one. There we go. So that's try hack me. You have um, can join for free. It's what I love about this platform is it's teaching through labs. And they actually have a virtual machine environment that you can use, and
Yep.
you have free credits when you start with. Very, very well done platform, and you will be asked to use it throughout the curriculum. Indeed.
Yep.
All right, brilliant, love it. Okay, let
Yeah.
me.
There's a lot of resources out there that are for free that would help someone that's interested in the cybersecurity space. I'm sure I could provide a bunch of them. But this one's the one that comes to the top of my mind.
That's right.
The fact that someone doesn't know what that is, someone in the chat said that blows my mind as well. But there's other ones out there too. Hack the Box is a classic one. That's not designed as much for teaching.
Oops, hold on, my bad. I'm kind of lost. Oh, okay, this is what I need to do. So I'm sorry. How am I supposed to do that now? I'm kind of lost in.
Uh-oh.
There we go. All right.
Okay.
I think we're good now.
All right. So I was talking about Hack the Box is another platform. It's free to join as well.
Yeah.
It's not designed as a learning platform. That is designed as a penetration testing platform. They do have a learning element there as well, but it's probably a little bit more advanced than the Try Hack Me, but it's another great site. And they both sites do competitions all the time and promotions where you can win free stuff. Unfortunately, you just missed out on the big Christmas one. That was for Try Hack Me. I won a couple prizes there, which is pretty cool.
Oh, really nice.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
There's another question. So lots of questions. Thank you for actually keep that going, and then we'll continue on your personal journey. But Trunks has a question. Trunks is 40 years old. Nothing in IT, in computers. Can I start my new cybersecurity career with NewCamp, Bootcamp, and study online?
Oh, yes, honestly, absolutely, you can. I think with zero experience with IT and computers, it's going to be tough, but it's certainly not overcomable. I mean, honestly. And the great thing is that I don't think as many students take advantage of too is your instructors are there with office hours, right? We can spend extra time with you to help you with topics or just to try to get you to get more experience with a certain thing. And honestly, it's something that I love doing. So it's definitely something you can do.
Yeah. Jeremy is sharing a personal story here. Spoofed email saying, I caught you looking at spicy content and send Litecoin so that there's a bunch of traps to avoid here. And we'll talk about what your personal experience is at Lockheed. And Bert, I think, is making a great point. And I think we go over this in the curriculum as well. But
you do.
Oftentimes, the breach is not purely technical. Can you talk about a little bit of that?
Yeah, no, I think that is a great point that we talk about is that a lot of times the weakest point in the defense is the end user, right? Mm-hmm. And an end user without knowledge is very dangerous. That's an insider threat, right? So a cybersecurity incident is not always someone outside the organization trying to attack it. It could be someone in the inside that has access to something they shouldn't, and they hit the wrong button and they shut down a machine or something. Like that is still a cybersecurity incident. Like this stuff happens. So there is a lot about computers too, but it's not all about computers too. There's a lot of things on here that are just, how do we put it here? I want to bring it back to risk management, right? That's not strictly about computers, right? That's more about doing an analysis of things to see what is risky, what threats are, what an organization can even ponder to take on. These things are also considered cybersecurity, but it's not strictly technical. So,
and I think we've seen in the news some examples of how humans become even more vulnerable in the world of AI. I remember seeing a news where, and I think it was more to attack consumers, not necessarily companies, but I'm sure that's happening with employees as well, where you have the cloned voice of a relative giving you a call.
It's worse than that. There's a pretty recent one where they did deep fakes of a CEO and someone else in an organization. There was 2 or 3 people. I can't remember if it's 2 or 3, but they spoofed the video and the audio, got the CFO of the company on the line, told him to make a transfer of a couple of $1 million, and he did, because he was trying to trust what he saw with his eyes. trust what he heard with his ears, but it was totally faked by AI. So
Oh,
yes,
jeez. So yeah, um, and if we can, we'll talk about AI, but that's a tough one. And I think that the rule still applies: never act on a receiving call. Always hang up and then
correct.
and make
Yeah.
the initiative to then contact the person directly. I've actually some people have used me, and that's a well-known spoofing text or message where someone is going to text someone that works for me saying, "Hey, it's Ludo. I need you to buy gift cards." That's
Yeah.
a famous one, but yeah, that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's something it's not going to go away either. It's going to get more complicated. Um, but you're absolutely right. No, spoofing and pretending to be other things is something that's a very dangerous thing. Yeah.
And we have one more question from Hope. And thanks everyone for chiming in, Jeremy and Aline. Will the cybersecurity fundamentals be beneficial if you are interested in the auditing compliance side of cybersecurity? Or is it more beneficial to pursue the CISA?
If I remember right, the CISA is specifically a certification for auditing,
That's right.
um, which I've considered taking myself. We are going to cover a lot of topics that are going to be there as well, probably not as deep,
Mhm.
but there's definitely topics in the cybersecurity foundations or fundamentals that would be interested in this. We go over risk management frameworks, how to do risk analysis, um, how to come up with security plans and things like this. I mean, there's a lot of things in here that would do it. We talk about security controls as well. I think fundamentals would be good too, but I think network defense would be even better for that.
Great. Thank you. All right. So let's go back to your job at Lockheed Martin. Uh, and I'd love to geek out a little bit with you, to be honest, because when I hear about Lockheed Martin, I hear about, of course, defense, national defense. Uh, and I'm connecting the dots with drones, unmanned drones, and AI driven armies of drones. And I would love to ask you about what are the cybersecurity implications of that?
Oh, that's huge. That might be bigger than me, Ludo.
That's what I'm
Uh,
saying. Let's geek out. If you can, let's like, right, because all of a sudden, if we talked about that humans sometimes are part of the weak links,
mhm,
but I guess I'll trust a fighter pilot to make the right decisions versus an AI that could be hacked by anyone, not
mhm,
anyone. But
yeah.
how do you like if all of a sudden our armies are 100% or maybe 80% driven by computers and AI? How do you protect ourselves from the Terminator type of end game?
Oh man. Well,
Because we're getting there, right?
what they do in the movies, the EMPs, we have those now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no,
Well,
AI
what's a realistic? And I don't know if you can talk about it, obviously, or maybe you can just do hypothetical with me. But on the path to removing the humans from the battlefield, in a sense, and using more drones and more automation, what's the next step? Is the next step to have everything remote controlled, but not totally controlled by AI, but remote controlled by humans? Is that where we're going now?
honestly, Ludo, I don't. I could give a personal opinion that would really have no basis in fact other than feeling, but I think humans are going to be involved for quite a long while longer here. But I do think you're right. I mean, I'm an automation guy, so yes, I think there's a lot of advancements that could be made in automation
Yeah.
that could help on a battlefield. Absolutely, right. One of the biggest things that I love about automation is the fact that it speeds up responses, right?
Mhm.
So you can
Yeah.
imagine doing that and pairing automations, including uh, decision making, if that would be somewhat automated, if that could go to AI instead of to a human, then that response is going to be that much quicker, right?
Yeah.
But we've seen some of the things that the hypothetical dangers of AI as well, right? Where something can get hacked, something
Yeah.
isn't programmed correctly. 2001 Space Odyssey. Like, it wasn't anything about cybersecurity, but there was a flaw in the program where the spaceship tried to kill people or something. Yes. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And as we make things more complicated, we make things more vulnerable. There's so many more opportunities for something to go wrong.
Yeah.
So,
So tell us about what you do at Lockheed Martin. Then, what is the day in the life of Matthew, cybersecurity expert at Lockheed Martin? What you can share, obviously.
sure, sure. So I'm actually pretty lucky with what I've done, where I am. So I'm actually part of a small team with a large scope. So I don't think too many of my days look the same as the day before,
Nice.
right? And that's something that I quite enjoy, right? There could be days that I just get to spend programming and try to fix a program or fix a problem that way. There could be times when I have to do investigations, right? And using the tools that we use in our NewCamp bootcamp in those investigations. So yes, it's those are the kind of things that I love too. I mean, I'm involved in vulnerability management, right? I think that there's a lot of great things that I get to do and enjoy in my everyday work.
And you just said something that I don't know. I think a lot of people don't realize there's a programming element to cybersecurity. And actually, we teach Python. I think we teach Python. That's it. Maybe we teach something else. Or PowerShell, I think we teach. But there is a language element to cybersecurity. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Oh yeah, I think there definitely is. So I've been kind of programming since I talked to you about the HTML and
Yeah.
CSS. I was actually doing it before that in BASIC on a Commodore 64 when I was in
Wow.
my single digit years. So that's something that's deep in me. So right now in cybersecurity, my biggest things that I'm using are Python and
Mhm.
PowerShell,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. And
And
it's for mainly scripting. Do you automate scripts and or configurations?
yes, sir. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mhm. Yeah, I do a lot of that with, and I don't know if I can say too much about it, but it's something I use pretty regularly. And I said I'm an automation guy, so that goes hand in hand with the programming too,
Yeah.
right? One of the things that I think is great, there's new products out there, the SOAR, Security Orchestration Automation Response.
Yeah.
I think those are great programs, and they come in different levels, right? There are some that are no code, you don't have to do any kind of programming. There's
Mhm.
some that are low code where you do a little bit of your own programming, and there's some that are just I don't know what they call high code. You're doing a lot of programming in those other
Yeah.
ones, right? So the sweet spot for me is that low code thing. I don't know everything about programming. I'm not a
Yeah.
great programmer. I write probably honestly I write spaghetti code, but I can make stuff work. I can make things automate, and I can make things happen that are pretty cool. So
And are tools, AI tools like ChatGPT helpful in that world? Like, is it easier for you now to, fix a script or a Python piece of code that or create one from scratch using AI? Is that allowed? Is that something that you're allowed to do as well in the cybersecurity space?
you might get me in trouble here. I have definitely done it in my personal.
So don't get in trouble. Just no. I'm going to say no comment. That's a fine answer as well.
um, But no, I mean, I've seen it though. Like AI does make it easier to
Yeah.
code or to fix things or to figure out what's going on, and it can even write your own code if you can give it the right context clues and
Yeah.
specifics about what you want to do. So
Jeremy talks about a company called Palantir, and I've heard about that company. I mean, they're pretty well known in the AI space. Have never really figured out what they do exactly, um, but yeah, it's an interesting company to follow in the defense space. Are you familiar with them? Do you know them a little bit?
it sounds familiar, but
It's,
I can't be sure.
so I think it's one of the fastest growing AI companies
Oh, okay.
in the defense space. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. Um, so let's talk about the career of a cybersecurity expert. You've been in that field. Is it fair to say that you really started in cybersecurity in 2021 as you joined Lockheed Martin, or did you?
No, I was doing cybersecurity stuff before that.
Okay, before that.
So,
So, what is the typical progression? Like, where do you see you doing in the cybersecurity space? Maybe I don't know in 2, 3 years from now.
Oh, that's a great question. I'm pretty lucky where I am. Like I said, we're a small team with a large scope. So we're always looking to improve. We're always working on projects. We're always trying to make cool things happen. So, man, I can't see myself doing anything else right now because I just love it so much. But if something else came along that was more exciting, I could see myself, switching. But
And Jeremy just confirmed that the Palantir stock is like 700 or 800% up in recent months. So something's going on with that company. Lots of excitement around it. Let me ask you another question. With Lockheed Martin or your previous job or hypothetical, have you been involved in an active penetration or threat that you had to fight on the moment? Like, can you tell us, like, have you been in that situation? Maybe, I don't know, getting the 2 a.m. call saying, "Hey, something's going on, all hands on deck."
yeah, no, I have. It wasn't 2 a.m., thankfully, but it was on a holiday.
Yeah,
Uh, so, yes, it does happen. Yeah. I think that's kind of one of the reasons, too, that why I wanted to switch from IT to cybersecurity was with IT, I was on call day, night,
yeah,
weekend, and it was burning me out.
yeah.
Right.
Because there's always something going down, and if the IT environment is not the greatest, it's gonna be painful.
Right. Right. So now I'm fortunate where that does not happen as much, but it still happens. I mean, stuff still happens. So, but yes, there was a couple situations. One of them I could think of, the one on the holiday was the biggest one, and it was we overcame it. It just did take most of the night, and
Yeah,
um, it was.
and that's the thing. You can't really
I
talk
really
about it.
can't. Yeah, I'm trying to think of ways to talk about it
Yeah,
without
yeah. No,
talking
I understand.
about it.
Let me ask you something else.
Sure.
Um, we've talked about cybersecurity in government. Um, how can you tell us, the importance of having um, security clearance and passing those, guardrails that the DoD, for example, will want to, security check or things like that. Like, do you have security clearance? Like, did you have to have security clearance yourself? How does that happen? How do you make? I mean, tell us about that.
So my experience with cybersecurity, with security clearances from the government, is it's very need to know. So if you have a job that requires that kind of thing, then that's the only way you'd get to know what it really is involved,
Yeah,
right? So, but it really is, from my understanding, it is it's a look at your personal life, right? What is happening there?
hmm,
Is there things that stand out as I don't want to use the word suspicious either, but just things that need more clarification, maybe. Like I've heard some really weird things, like someone didn't get a security clearance because they moved around a lot. But I've also known people, and I didn't. Uh, I had just moved from New York to Kentucky, and no one mentioned to me that I moved around or it made a difference. And I've known people that moved around a lot and still had no
yeah,
problems. So and the thing is too, like you can't get one without having the need to know part of it or the job that requires it.
mhm.
So it's not something like you can go out and get your own clearance. So that way you can get a job.
Yeah,
It's got
I
to
see
be
what you're saying.
the way
Yeah, yeah.
around.
It's when it's needed that you're gonna have to go through the
Right.
process. Gotcha.
Right.
And Jeremy has one apparently pretty cool. Um, all right. Hey, so it's so far a really good conversation with the chat as well. If you're listening to us live on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, don't hesitate to ask your question. We've been taking many questions here, and there's an interesting conversation happening as well. Um, let me see. Oh, I want to ask you. That was part of the write up that we have on our website in the blog, where you're talking about how you've tinkered with Raspberry Pi.
Oh
Can
yeah.
you share a little bit about your project and what you've been doing on this neat little device?
Oh, which one did I talk about? So I've done a couple of cool things with Raspberry Pis. Um,
Tell us about that.
so one of the things I've done in the past was I've made what's called a Pi hole.
Yeah.
Which is that the one? All right. So
Yeah.
that is a device that you connect to your home network, and it's designed to filter out advertisements on the internet. Right.
That's
So
pretty cool.
yeah, so it kind of acts like it's not a man in the middle attack, but it is a something that goes in between. Everything gets filtered through your Raspberry Pi, which
Yeah.
are very small $30 devices.
Mhm.
So imagine for $30 and a couple hours of work to set it up, that you no longer see advertisements on anything anymore. Like you're watching YouTube, there's no advertisements. You're watching Netflix, no advertisements. Hulu, whatever it is, they just don't come through anymore. Or they get sunk in this
So
black
how are you
hole.
doing that? Are you filtering like are you filtering based on URLs or how do you do that?
It is URL, from my understanding, is URL. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so did you program it yourself or are these programs that you download for the Raspberry Pi?
Yeah. It is a program that you download for it. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
But you do have to configure it. It is a
Yeah.
little bit, not just pull off the shelf and plug it in. It does have to be configured. And then the other major project I've done is me and my two sons built an arcade cabinet using a Raspberry Pi. It's actually behind me. You can't see it because of the background, but and it is a beautiful blue and red cabinet, full sized. Has about 500 games on it that from
Oh,
various
nice.
different arcade cabinets and
Oh my
uh,
God.
joysticks, buttons. It's really cool.
Oh, this is cool. This is cool. All right, and we're gonna wrap this stream if there are no more questions. But I want to ask you, what are your 2025 New Year resolutions?
Oh boy. Well, let's see. A personal one. I honestly need to lose a little bit of weight. I'm getting older and I need to eat better. And I've gained a little bit, so I want to get back to like how much I was weighing before. So that's a personal one there. And I should mention some professional goals as well. Um, I have personally just, within this week decided that I really need to refamiliarize myself with some of the tools and the operating systems that are out there for penetration testing.
Yeah,
So I have been feverishly downloading different tools and VMs and operating systems to
nice.
try them out and see what I'm missing that is out there and available.
What's the latest one you've tried?
I just did. I just downloaded Backbox. I was trying to mess with Black Arch Linux, which to me, Arch Linux is kind of it's kind of a lot of overhead to me. Like it's not user friendly. It's
Mhm.
just kind of. But if you like it, you like it, and a lot of people will really like it. So I want to like it too.
Yeah,
I, it's not something that I can just sit down and just spend a few minutes on and playing with. It's more of something that I really need a couple hours to just hammer away at this, get this thing running so I can actually use it. Right? It's not a simple one, but Backbox seems pretty nice. It's got good reviews, and there is a new one from. Well, I guess it's not that new, but it's new to me from Mandiant, which is called Commando VM, and that's
huh.
designed to run on a Windows system. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
pretty unique to me, and it seemed like it was something worth checking out. But I don't have a Windows system currently to check that out on. So um, sooner or
Not
later,
surprising. Not surprising for a cybersecurity expert. I have plenty of Windows machine myself.
yeah, no, I don't like it. Honestly, I've grown away from
I've
Microsoft.
been resisting anything but Windows for like decades. I'm still a two-button mouse guy, Windows 11 guy. Even on the
Yeah,
server, I'm running Windows Server. And I have an Android phone. I just can't. I'm not ready to jump over to the Apple world or Linux world, even less Linux world. I would say. There was a video from Fireship this morning, pretty much saying 2025 is not going to be the year again of desktop on Linux. We've all thought that Linux was going to take over the desktop, and unfortunately, that may still not happen. Maybe ever. Uh, we'll see, but definitely not the case in the cybersecurity space, as we know.
yeah.
All right, Matthew. As we wrap up, I'd love for you to kind of share your wisdom and maybe wrap the stream with final words. What would you like? What do you tell your students the most about their prospect for a career in cybersecurity? What do you want them to remember or keep in mind as they are starting their journey?
Okay, that's a pretty big one, but I think we talked about this a little bit already here in the stream, right? I think it's very important to not oversell yourself as an expert if you're
Mhm.
not, right? Be honest about what you know, but be honest about your work ethic. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over words. Be honest about your work ethic, what you want to do, how willing you are to learn and take on new projects, right? To me, that's huge when I look at candidates is how willing are you to be out of your comfort zone, right? And maybe it is just I was doing telemarketing and I hated it, so I took a boot camp about cybersecurity and I love it.
Yeah.
That means a lot more to me than someone that's just like, yeah, I've been in cybersecurity for a couple of years and I hate it, but I need a new job, right?
Mhm.
I want someone that's trainable
Yeah.
personally, and I think that's a really key thing to portray when you're interviewing with someone.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for that. Thank you again for joining us on January the 3rd. It's a new year, it's a new dawn. Really appreciate, and I wish you a great weekend. And everyone also listening to us, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciated it. And if you have more questions, I'm on Discord, on the NewCamp Discord. I'm
That's
MR
great.
James 00. Be glad to talk about it and answer questions over there too.
All right. Thank